Okay, hello, my name is Joseph Kane, and this is my Struggling Readers interview. I interviewed a freshman, sophomore, a junior, and a senior about their peers who can't read and how they struggle in classes, as well as students who can read but don't. And I compared this to what the research says. The freshmen that I interviewed said they think that if any of their classmates can't read, they should find teachers who can help them and teach them. There are teachers who can help students learn to read, but the student says they think they just don't care in terms of the students that can't read. The freshman says they think some of their peers don't want to read and or learn to read. They say they don't know who can't read, but they bet those students struggle with all of their classes. The freshman says that if students can read but don't, they are choosing to not learn new information and choosing to not do their homework. If a student doesn't read, they will struggle to pass their classes and struggle to learn new things and grow. And finally, the freshman says they can help struggling readers and illiterate readers in the high school by telling them why it is important to read, and they also can tell them which teacher can help them. The sophomore says that if someone has made it to their sophomore year of high school and still doesn't know how to read, then they are in trouble. They say they don't know how a student would make it that far. The sophomore says the students who don't know how to read always struggle when we have to read aloud and read silently. They always are uncomfortable and pass or find ways to not read aloud. And during silent reading time, the student who can't read just plays around or wastes time. And the sophomore says that students who can read but don't are only hurting themselves. And they can try to read with those students when they are in a group with them, but the sophomore says they don't know how to teach them how to read, and they don't know if that student even wants to. The junior has a little bit different opinion. They say they feel sorry for their peers who can't read. They must have missed out on so much information and learning. They think that most of them have a bad attitude about reading, and they say they don't like they think those students don't like it, or they think that it isn't cool. The junior says if a student can't read, they probably are not taking all of the classes for a junior, or if they are in those classes, they bet that they are getting low grades like D's or F's. The students who can't read are either quiet and shy or loud and disruptive, and the junior thinks they act like this to find ways to avoid reading. Additionally, students who can read but don't struggle to get good grades. If students don't read, they won't understand the directions and other information. The junior says they don't understand why someone would choose not to read and intentionally get bad grades. And finally, the junior says they could help a struggling reader and an illiterate reader in their high school by trying to explain to them how important it is to read. They could try to recommend a good book, but they think that it would be hard to help them because they have already made up their minds that they don't read and won't read. Finally, the senior who was interviewed thinks that their peers who can't read are going to have a tough time after high school. They probably are not going to college, and they will even have trouble getting a skilled trades job like welding. The students who can't read struggle with other things too, such as speaking and communicating with teachers and other students. Glad Students who can read but don't struggle in classes because they are refusing to participate and refusing to do homework. If they know how to read but don't, they will not develop sharper skills or learn new information. Their peers will get smarter and they will stay the same. And finally, the senior says they think if they get a chance to talk with one of their classmates who is struggling with reading, they can talk about jobs after high school and try to convince them that it is important to learn to read, even if it is a struggle. But the senior says they don't know if they can help them learn how to read. They probably need more help than they can give. So the ideas of the students interviewed are similar to what research says in terms of how reading correlates to other areas of learning. The students indicated that students who don't know how to read will struggle to pass classes or even fail. Additionally, students who know how to read but don't will also fall behind and struggle to get good grades. Research shows that students who can't read and or don't read will struggle academically. These students also suggested ways to point these students in the right directions, but indicated that the students have to take the initiative and put forth the effort to learn and practice. All of the students interviewed seemed genuinely concerned that some of their classmates cannot read, but it is difficult for them to come up with solutions and ways to help. I think there is a stigma on students who cannot read, assuming that they are dumb, lazy, or unintelligent. And I think the students who were interviewed expressed a different attitude about students who cannot read, suggesting that we all have struggles and that they want them to learn and grow just like everyone else. In fewer words, all the students also suggested that peer pressure and influence can change attitudes, and if students start having the attitude that reading is cool, then students who cannot read will be more inclined, encouraged, and motivated to read. The students interviewed also talked about finding small ways to get students to read, such as reading quotes, song lyrics, posters, and even texting or Twitter messages. Finally, the students interviewed are all in high school and expressed a two-sided sentiment that first, it is never too late to learn a new skill, such as reading, and second, that if they don't learn soon, they are going to struggle the rest of their life.